Hello, I am Quinny. Welcome to the channel. In this video today, guys, we're going to be looking at under the radar Wonderkids. I've scoured the globe, I've went all across the place, and what I'm doing is I'm looking for guys that are out on loan, maybe getting some minutes, maybe they broke into the team and they're starting to get some sort of consistency. Maybe it's their rookie season, they've just came out of the academy and they're starting to get first team appearances already. Some of these guys you will have heard of. I just want to give my 2 cents across the board, and in typical FC Barcelona fashion, we'll be going through this 11-a-side fantasy team, if you like, in a 3-4-3 formation. So we'll be looking at three defenders, 4 midfielders, and 3 attackers. At any point in the video, guys, if you do laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe and share and retweet and all that good stuff, guys. Stay out of trouble, and let's get stuck into it. If you could hit the subscribe button, I do daily global football content, everything from Wonderkids and Rising Star Managers to fantasy football and watch-alongs. That will also automatically enter you into my April giveaway. This month, I'm giving away a 1 of 100 Belgium Youth International, Ewood Pletench, and 2 limited goalkeepers. If you want to stick around to the end of the video, we'll get into all the giveaway stuff again there. Now, when it comes to goalkeepers, to be quite honest with you, I'm quite torn in a few different directions, because what is a Wonderkid goalkeeper? Because not that many goalkeepers will actually come through to be first team players, especially at top flight football, when they are really below the age of like 22 or 23. So trying to find guys that are really like exciting, up and coming, like 17, 19-year-old, that kind of frame, isn't really possible with goalkeepers, but we've tried our best. So the first, I've got 3 keepers. I'll just kind of throw all at you, and then we'll just kind of deal with it from there. For this one, like, when we're thinking about guys that are under the radar, like guys that are just bench warming goalkeepers, they're, you know, that is really off the radar. You know, you need to be getting minutes, you need to be starting to, you know, earn your stripe. The thing we know about goalkeepers is because they play for so long, you know, they can play at a high level into their late 30s to a much better condition than many other outfield players. Then guys that can pick up minutes in the modern game at, you know, below 22 is invaluable experience that will serve these guys going forward. So I couldn't really split them. There's a few different things going on with them, and I don't know which one I would pick. In the comment section down below, guys, if you want to let me know what goalkeeper you'd pick, that's probably an interesting one for us to go for. But I'll just kind of rattle through these. So the first one I've got is Chevalier. Now, I recently spoke about Chevalier with McBride Ace on the goalkeeper video. As you'll know, Lille kind of outwardly hold this guy as we think he will be our main number 1 since selling Mike Mignon to AC Milan. And upon making that statement, they've put him out on loan to Valenciennes in League 2. And he's been doing really well, getting Team of the Week, Team of the Month, that sort of thing. We've then got Daesh, who is at Sorare in Belgium. Got promoted with them last year. He's just made his France Under-21 debut in the latest international window, and he has U23 for another good period of time. So he's somebody that could get another loan. I don't know what his situation is at Sorare, but he's somebody that's definitely under the radar, having previously been in a promoted team to get himself that first team top flight opportunity through merit. He is on loan from Metz, as I understand it. And then, as I say, breaking in to the France Under-21 national team, which we all see as like the creme de la creme of youth football. That national team is so deep. So to be the potentially one of the starting goalkeepers for that team is definitely credible. And then the third guy is a massive favourite at FC Barcelona, as you'll know, is Kosai Tani. So he's on for his 3rd season of first team football at Shonan Bellmare. And Tani has been regularly getting called up to the Japan national team to be sat on the bench. Thus far, he's not been capped after going so far in the Olympics last year. So, like I've speculated before when talking about Tani, like I feels like a lot of this preparation is to help him get a work permit to move him into Europe. Because as you'll know, with the Japanese and the Korean players in particular, a big part of their work permit criteria for the EU, for Europe, is based on national team appearances and selection and call-ups, etc. And with goalkeepers, because there is only going to be one, it's kind of hard to give him the minutes at top level. So I would suspect he's actually going to be making some sort of move into Europe over the next year or two. But even if he didn't, as you'll know, even though he is in his 3rd term at Shonan Bellmare, he's actually owned by Gamba Asaka, who is one of the powerhouses traditionally of Japanese football. So even after this year, if he was to move on and kick his career on, he's got a domestic upgrade kind of waiting to happen. So who do you think is the best kind of under the radar shout for them? And when I'm thinking under the radar, I'm thinking about kind of mass populace. You know, you guys are in the same places I am on Twitter and Reddit and all these other places. The actual football media, the actual football world. Which one of these 3 guys has been slept on the most? Let me know in the comment section. Now in defence, like it's actually probably the most speculative position, or maybe midfield is about 50-50, but with defence, I really wanted to have a look at guys that were really like in a few different ways, just not on the agenda. So the first one is Goncalo Estevez. Now, I was really close to picking up a super rare of this guy like yesterday or something like that, but he's getting all sorts of plaudits coming out the Sporting Lisbon Academy, and with Pedro Porro going to be moving on in the summer most likely, maybe he can actually break into that team over the next season, and maybe the season after can be considered a first team player. And in modern football, like the way that fullbacks are progressing, especially fullbacks that go on to have a big and important career so far, are well-rounded technical players that can get involved at both ends of the pitch with end product, as well as that kind of football savvy. And as we've seen with the youth prospects in Sporting Lisbon over the last 5 or 6 years in particular, their academy is definitely breeding those types of traits, and I'm really excited to see what Estevez does when he makes a step out the academy and into the first team. The next one is Noah Mbamba Muanda. Now, this guy popped up on my radar very quickly for just getting his appearances like he has been at Club Brugge. Already, he's made Champions League appearances. He's been playing for the Belgium under-19s. This kid is only 17. Brugge have been running away with the Belgian league over the last 2 seasons especially. And to be, and fair enough, they had some problems with injury and suspension and all the other stuff that happens to every other team in the world. But for this kid to be stepping into the breach as a 17-year-old and picking up the amount of appearances he has picked up, in all competitions, it's not just the Diddy Cup games or anything like that, then this is a guy, especially as he makes that international move with the Belgium under-19s and maybe even the 21s as time goes on, we'll see. Again, similar to what I was saying about Sporting Lisbon, as we've seen with Belgian football, periods, not just Bruges, and we'll talk about our Bruges players as we go through this later on, but they are producing high quality elite footballers, and with what is required in modern defence now in terms of being able to pass the ball in composure, be able to build out from the back, be press resistant, whatever, the high level exposure this guy's had at 17 is incredible, and I'm really excited to watch this guy really kick on throughout the rest of this season. They've still got playoffs to go, and we'll see if he can get some more minutes after, he got injured, dropped out the team, other players have come back in and regained spots, and now he's back to the bench. So we'll see if he can make any more appearances this season, but definitely next season, this is a guy that I think will start to appear on the radars. Similar to Castello Luqueba, if you see what's happened to him at Lyon. And then my last defender is a guy that I know you'll be familiar with if you're regular viewers of the content on the channel, is Milan Van Euik. Van Euik, I think I've called him quite a lot, but Milan Van Euik. So Milan is a big, powerful right back, and he's really just moved on this year into Heerenveen. From the last team he was at was Peg Zwolle, who got relegated. He get great plaudits there, but being at a bottom end team, it's really hard to know exactly what he can contribute at a higher level in must-win games with high-quality opposition and high-quality teammates. And since he's moved on to Heerenveen, I know they've just lost Joey Veerman, but he's been very, very active in all their good performances in terms of the games they win, defensive digouts, that kind of stuff. And again, I hate to sound like a broken record, but I just really feel this with defence, that you really need to paint them in the picture of the modern landscape. A physically imposing, tall, strong, box to box, line to line, high energy, high octane fullback is very much sought after across the top levels of European football. And now with him showing that nice progression from moving up from Peg Zwolle to Heerenveen, he's now been capped as well into the youth national team. He's shown that steady progression that we often see in Dutch football, because what is easily forgotten, or maybe you might not be aware of this, but the way Dutch football works in terms of the academy system and how they feed the bigger teams and all that kind of thing, is everything's much more community driven. So Pek Zwolle, for example, where Van Euik is from, that's, I'm just going to say it is, right? It might not be totally correct, right? But this happens very often throughout Dutch football. That'll be his local team, and that's where, it's a delict to get scooped up by Ajax at a very, very, very young age. But what Ajax and Feyenoord and PSV and the whole Dutch community can allow to happen is all these other guys that are like, they could be really good, but it's not a definite. They definitely get time to grow and prosper in their kind of native club, in their kind of hometown club. And we've seen the same thing, like Iron Robin's a great example coming through at Groningen before going to PSV. And equally, when you look at a lot of Dutch footballers after they've been around at the top level for like 5 or 6 years, you'll probably see that they played for at least 2 teams in Holland. And typically speaking, the first team is the one that they kind of grow up in and they come through at. And we're starting to see that same trajectory for Van Euik, with the progress he's had this year domestically and with the Dutch national team as well. Now, the guys in midfield are the ones I'm probably the most excited about watching over the next 12 months. These guys, all 3 of them, three of the four of them haven't really been that present in first team action this year, and you know, I think there's just a lot of good stuff going on. So we'll start off with the one I'm probably the most excited about watching get some minutes over the coming, let's say, 6 to 8 months, and that is Antonio Blanco of Real Madrid. So this guy's been highly rated by the academy for a few years now, and very recently Carlo Ancelotti was coming out. Real Madrid were linked with maybe a Gravenberch or somebody like that. I can't remember who it was. And Ancelotti's quote is something to the tune of, "We have Valverde, Camavinga and Antonio Blanco." So for Ancelotti to make that statement, for a guy who's not appeared, I don't think even this season for the first team, is a massive, massive statement of intent. We've seen how amazing Valverde's been over the last 2 years. We've seen how impactful Camavinga's even been in his first season. And this guy could easily be the next first team player to be coming out and joining that Camavinga, Valverde next generation that takes over from Kroos, Casemiro and Modric. Because he hasn't really had that much first team exposure, like Valverde has been a benefit of circumstance the time he's been at Real Madrid for the minutes he's had and the opportunities he's had to shine. Camavinga obviously has had a lot of minutes at Rennes for his age. Blanco having not had that, maybe he might get, that's why I'm quite excited to watch out for him, because he might get a loan to another La Liga team for 6 months a year just to help bleed them into that, you know, top flight football. Maybe he plays for a wee bit of Real Madrid B and then just goes straight into the Real Madrid team as well. That's just as possible. But I'm really excited to see what happens with him. Another player that I'm like just excited to start watching and paying attention to is Luca Romero. Now, Luca Romero is just transferred into Lazio this season from Mallorca. He's 17 years of age, and wait till you see a picture of him. The boy looks like he's like 28 or something like that. He's a left-sided player that plays on the right, and back in his home country of Argentina, he's likened to Lionel Messi in terms of how he can dribble and how he can attack and whatever. He's been getting loose minutes here and there for Lazio, but at the age of 17, right, to come through at Mallorca, who finished second in the Segunda League that season, he made about 10 appearances, got a goal or so. So to do that at a decent level at 16, to then move to Lazio, who are managed by Maurizio Sarri, as we know. And what is Sarri famous for? He's famous for Sarri ball. Now, forget about Sarri ball for a second, right? But think about what the environment of that entails. A very dogmatic approach to a philosophy and a tactic structure that you need to adhere to get any minutes. You need to buy into the coach's philosophy. You need to do as you're told. You need to be obedient and tactically astute to follow in the manager's instructions. And if he is able to satisfy Maurizio Sarri with that at the age of 17 to get the minutes he has, and I only see that kind of continuing, maybe there's a few outgoings of Lazio over the summer potentially, then this is a kid that could really just explode onto the scene. If he can start getting decisive actions, get a couple of goals and assists, and especially if they're worldies or top end class, this is a kid that will be on everyone's lips very, very quickly. I just kind of touched on with Antonio Blanco that Ryan Gravenberch looks set to be leaving Ajax this summer, and then that leaves a new spot in Ajax's midfield. So a player that they brought in from Nordisland a year or two ago for €8 million or £8 million, I forget which one it was, sorry, is Mohamed Kudus. Now, Mohamed Kudus has previously had some very successful appearances for Ajax in terms of the contribution he can make box-to-box, goals and assists, turning over play, successful dribbles, interceptions, all of that good stuff. And he's just been unlucky to get back into the team as of late. And this is a guy that, you know, because he is such an all-rounder, as we know how Ajax like to play, especially domestically, I feel like it's a matter of time before he's going to get back into the team with Gravenberch leaving. And I think the stage he's at is this season's almost a write-off. So this is a guy I'm more looking at for next season, that some people, the guys that are close to Ajax, might be able to tell me rightly or wrongly whether this guy's even in the frame or not. But for me, looking at it, this feels like a guy who could have a second coming. And because of the age the guy's at, the profile he's got, when you get a guy like that hits it big and makes it successful, again, the biggest and best teams want combative, dynamic midfielders like that can contribute in all aspects of the game. My last midfielder, again, if you're regular viewers of the content, you'll know it's another guy I'm super excited about, and that is Eric Martell, who's on loan from RB Leipzig into Austria Vienna in the Austrian Bundesliga. And he's been doing really well for Vienna this year. And the thing about Martell that I really liked is the fact that he's going out and getting that first team football. He's not just sitting in Bundesliga 3 or the reserves or on the bench or that kind of stuff. And all of his, the reason he caught my eye when the loan went is all of his youth stats and all of his stats going into that loan were very good, and I can already see an amazing translation from going from youth football and like lower tier German pyramid football into the Austrian League. Now, the Austrian League isn't exactly the gold standard of elite football, I understand that, but being at Austria Vienna rather than RB Salzburg is a totally different kettle of fish. So if he's able to dominate matches in a weaker team and influence the game, like you can see from the statistics, and he's a guy that I feel very much is under the radar and could quite easily and quite foreseeably get another loan next year from Leipzig, maybe to Belgium, maybe to another Bundesliga team, maybe Bundesliga 2. That's not too good for SO5, I know, at this moment in time. We'll see what happens. But this is a kid that I would see with his next progression in his career in terms of the next loan he gets, or if he stays at Vienna, maybe they get European football or something, I don't know. He's a guy that, again, similar to the profile of a lot of these kids that I've been looking at, that's the sort of profile that marries in with what the elite teams and what the top flight clubs and the biggest leagues in the world are looking for in the next generation of footballer. The most slept on, and that is Amin Kubiri. Now, Kubiri is like the ultimate complete forward. He's quite nimble, he's a wee bit more diminutive, of course, but his statistics are mind-blowing, you know. Since he's left Lyon for Nice, his statistics have been incredible and they've been improving year on year. The only problem with Kubiri, he's the one I had to change the criteria for, because as of February he just turned 22. Everyone else in this list is 21 or younger. But Kubiri takes set pieces. Key passes per game is over 1.3, and in Ligue 1, which is the biggest league I think any of these teams and these players are actually featured in, that's an incredible, maybe Luca Romero with Serie A, but that is an incredible statistic. He gets goals, he gets assists, he takes set pieces, he's really good at winning the ball back, counter press and all that kind of stuff. And he's a guy, I've seen this recently on some content, but Amin Kubiri is going to go to a team from Nice. He's going to leave Nice and go to a team, and he is going to explode, and everyone is, in terms of the world, the football community or whatever, is going to be like, wow, this kid is amazing. Some people will have heard of him already because his numbers are eye-catching. He's not a total unknown quantity. I'm just saying he's totally off the radar of what everyone's thinking about in terms of the next generation of elite strikers and elite forwards that are dotted around Europe. He just does not get mentioned anywhere near enough for me. Similar in that same vein is Charles de Ketelaere. Now, especially this year, he has been getting more headlines, he has been getting more plaudits because he has really kicked on. But this guy can play right, he can play left, he can play false nines through the middle if you really wanted him to. He's technically gifted. Honestly, for somebody who's got 13 goals and 8 assists, and when you look at his career trajectory, it's been constant improvement year on year. He's electric. And he could really go anywhere. He's one of these guys I could see going to the Premier League, into like even like I know this doesn't sound too glamorous, but he could go into like a Brighton, he could go into a team like that very easily, be a first team player and be impactful. I could see that, no problem at all. Equally, he could go to Spain, he could go to Italy, he could go a lot of different places, Germany, and be equally as impactful. But my point is I could see him going anywhere. And in the right team, the right tactical setup, if he's scouted correctly by a manager and a scouting department that know what they're getting and know how they can utilise him in their team, then this is a kid that, again, I think could explode, and everyone's going to be like, wow, this is the next Belgian superstar coming out of the Belgian football system. And then the final striker, the final player on this list, is a little bit more speculative, but again, similar to some of the defenders that were featured, this guy for me has just got the raw profile for me to be excited about, and that is Benjamin Cesco. Now, Benjamin Cesco is an 18-year-old. He's the thing about Cesco, right? The two things that really grabbed my attention is last season it was on loan at Liefering or whatever Salzburg's other kind of little feeder team is. 30 appearances, 21 goals at the age of 17. And I know that's the Austrian second flight, right? But that is still incredible. He's got 5 or 6 caps this season alone for his national full team. You're not even the youth teams. He's playing and scoring in the top level of international football already. And he's had to, the thing with Salzburg is there is a lot of competition. Adeyemi, Koita, who's coming back from injury, Adamu, Okafor. There's a lot of really good strikers in Salzburg. So for him to be getting the minutes he's been getting at Salzburg after the season he's had last year is a big gold star from me. And I know Slovenia is not the biggest nation to be representing, but to be the 18-year-old wonder kid and you're actually thrown in the deep end for World Cup qualification, you're the striker, we're going to give you a shot. Let's go for it, Ben. It just, that exposure for him, that experience, elite international football, high stakes, high pressure, weight of the country on your shoulders, I think is a very unique experience that only the top players can thrive under. And if he can do that, this is a kid, again, for the age he's at, could be lethal. And because of the reputation Salzburg have with Haaland and Adeyemi being the last couple of big strikers to come out, if he was to hit big, again, his profile could just go massive. I hope you've enjoyed this one, guys. Don't forget to leave a comment down below and let me know what goalkeeper you think is the most appropriate for under the radar Wonderkid goalkeeper. I hope you've enjoyed this one, guys. About to pop on screen now some more stuff I've made that YouTube thinks you might like. Stay out of trouble, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye. Let's get into all the giveaway stuff before I let you go. I'm still doing monthly giveaways and I'm making it easier to enter. If you want to be entered to win this month's prize or any future giveaways here at the channel, all the same rules will always apply. Hit the subscribe button, you need to be a subscriber to enter, then leave a comment down below. Each month, a random comment from a random video will be selected as the winner, so the more videos you leave a comment on, the better the chance you've got of winning any of my giveaways. All the winners are announced at the end of videos the same way as we're doing here. The best way to keep up with the content has always been to hit the notification bell with all notifications turned on. As always, guys, if you've enjoyed the video today, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like button. On screen now some other stuff that I've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. Stay out of trouble, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye bye.